Thank you, Mr. Dasgupta. Uh, I would like to start by taking a take from the Mr. Deepak Parikh's comment to which Ms. Mukherjee referred. That was about the bottomless pit. There is, over the years, there has been some difference now. That pit is now also, to use the phrase of Mr. Reji, it is a smart pit. So therefore, the more you pour into this, the bottom expands to ensure more leakages. So it has become a smart bottomless pit. So that is probably going to be the outcome of Uday, and I entirely agree with Ms. Mukherjee that the Uday scheme has actually turned out to be a very hugely bailout package for the banks, and rather much less emphasis on the improvement in the performance of the discoms. When you really look into, as the moderator has asked me to go to deal into this, as to why this problem is there with the discoms that we have. In my opinion, the biggest reason is that there is a lack of competition. We condemn, we have been hearing here, I was in the government but not in the government, and we keep saying that this has happened because of the bureaucrats who managed it. This has happened because it is a public sector undertaking. But I will give you the example of the discoms, of the telecom sector. The telecom sector, the BSNLs, they improved. And why they improved? Because there was a competition. The moment the competition came, the same BSNL about which we kept on complaining and there used to be no improvement, suddenly there was an improvement because there was a competition. In the discom sector, whomsoever you give the management, the problem is that there has been no competition, especially in the distribution sector. There has been no competition from any quarter whatsoever, neither from the private sector and not even among the distribution companies also, the public sector distribution companies. The unbundling which was done for the state electricity boards has actually been undone by, like I know in UP and many other states, that they have made an umbrella organization. So there are 4 discoms, but out on the 4 discoms, there is an umbrella organization which is known as UP Power Corporation, and the same is true of several states. And from there, all the activities are coordinated. So there is no competition among the discoms. There is no competition to the public sector from a private sector, because we have not brought in the private sector. So in my opinion, the first the problem that we have in this sector is because there is a lack of competition. So the one which is required to be done is we must try to bring in parallel licensing, and be given to the private sector, because the moment your roti is threatened, then you improve. The competition is the best regulator. No regulator can improve the functioning of the discoms as much as a competition and an era of competition can. So in my opinion, the first and the foremost thing that the government should prioritize is that you try to bring in more competition, give licenses to the private sector, and also ensure that there is a competition among the public sectors, which is also not happening. The other issue which is also very important, and unfortunately it is being talked about in the other sector, but not in our sector, and that's about the energy auditing. Most of us know that in the rural area of the power sector, the energy structure, the tariff structure is such that that it is subsidized. And under that grab, nowhere the rural side, especially most of the states, it is not metered. And if it is not metered, it is, I think, an open secret that most of the losses of the companies are booked into those rural areas' consumption. And when you take it up with the discom's ready reply will be like this, that what do I do by actually metering that area? Because In that area, in any case, I have to get only a fixed tariff or no tariff. So if I put a meter there, what do I do? I put a meter there, I put my people to take the readings, and I do it for billing, but the tariff structure is such that the metering doesn't serve any purpose. Now, that is the dilemma under which the metering has not taken place in several areas, and the losses continue to be booked into the consumption of the rural sector, which is the subsidized sector. So, the other recommendation, a very strong recommendation that I would like to make is, whatever be the tariff structure, the first thing that we have to bring is the concept of the direct benefit transfer into the power sector for the rural areas. Because then only you would be able to know how much energy consumption is actually taking place, how much is the leakage that is taking place, and as to why that leakage is taking place. The third very important point that I would like to emphasize is about the coverage. As you are aware that in this country, we are talking about the rural electrification figures of 98% to 100%. Most of the places, it is said that the rural electrification figures are 98% and 100%. In UP, you must be aware that state government, the central government, there was a constant fight as to whether that village of Nagla Fateh was electrified or it was not electrified. The reason is, the reason for this dispute is because we have been tweaking with the definition of the electrification. So if we cannot do the electrification, what we do is that we change the parameter and we say, no, we have electrified. So now we have reached into a ridiculous situation in this country where the electrification is 99%, and these are the statistics of the Government of India, also supported by all the state governments, that electrification is 99 to 80%, but about 8 crore households in the country, which is only less than 1/3 population of the country, is without any connection. They don't have any connections. They are not covered. And it is a common knowledge that most of these people are using electricity. It is being used by theft. It is being stolen. So in the country, 1/3 of the state, you will see 1/3 of the country is not covered under the access to electricity, but people are using electricity stealthily, many times with the connivance of the people working in the DISCOMs. It is an open secret, which I think everybody who is here knows. The one flaw of the yet another flaw of the Uday scheme, I think, is that we have not tried to put the emphasis on increasing this access. In my regulatory commission, she was telling me, she was suggesting, which is I think very good suggestion, that you don't approve the capital cost and just hold back. You must monitor it further. So apart from the capital cost expenditure that you need to monitor, you also need to monitor such fundamental issues as to how many new connections you have given in this particular year. And out of these new connections, how many have been metered? These are the priority areas which we have to take up with the DISCOMs, and the DISCOMs have to actually work on it. The regulators have to actually constantly pursue this, and only then we will be able to come out of this mess. It's very easy to say that, if the line losses reduce and if you give the contract management, the things will improve. Yes, that is a procedure, that's a process. But if you want to actually do it, these are the targets which have to be, as in the present scenario, by the Government of India and by the state governments, they have to undertake this. Mr. Mukherjee was suggesting that, it should be suggested that if the particular CMD and his team is not able to perform because of the political interferences, so then he should be removed. So then I was wondering as to who will remove them. So again, the political people. So finally, what you are saying is the remedy that you are suggesting is again that falls at the doorsteps of the political people only. So that is not the solution actually which will come. And I very firmly believe that any public sector or the private sector needs to be threatened by the, that's why that's the point I made in the beginning, that needs to be threatened by the competition. The moment it is threatened by the competition, the improvement takes place. And as I said in the beginning, that the competition is the best regulator. So that is another area which I think should be emphasized. The other point, the last point that I would like to make is that in this country we have never linked the tariff to the number of supply hours. So in a particular area, if the power supply is 14 hours, and in another area the power supply is 6 hours, the tariff in most of the states, I think some states have tried, but in most of the states tariff is the same. And this again brings in the politicization, and most of the DISCOM officials are only busy trying to make them happy, trying to make their political bosses happy as to giving them 20 hours or 24-hour supply in a particular area and neglecting thereby the other areas. So there is a need that the tariff should be linked to the number of hours of supply. And the other is the quality of supply. We have talked about the quality of supply, but actually how much outages take place, what has been the voltages level of the supply. These are the things on which again the regulators will have to emphasize, and then only we can expect some improvement in the power sector, especially in the distribution. Thank you.